Um, okay, so a very good afternoon to one and all. So today in this day two of our certificate course on this renewable energy that is organized by Department of Physics, Shri Shivaji Arts, Commerce, Science College, Motala District, Buldana. I welcome you all. And today we are going to see the types of power plants. Okay, so in the yesterday's lecture, in the last lecture, we had just introduced what is renewable energy and what sort of things renewable energy actually can come under. Means, basically, difference we saw between this renewable and non-renewable energy. And also, we saw what is conventional and non-conventional energy sources. So these things actually we saw and how renewable sources of energy can be useful in various ways. We also saw that, and apart from that, apart from its various usage, we saw its few disadvantages also. Okay, everything has advantages and disadvantages, but on the and to end up to summarize what we said, that we actually concluded that if renewable energy sources are made a really wise use of, and they are really means if we can use them in a very economical and in a way that will not harm the nature, so these things will really prove useful to us, and these can be of excellent use to us. Okay, that can also save our environment, and also it can save us in a way that it will not hurt our pockets. So basically, this is the thing that we learned yesterday, and in the yesterday's lecture we saw various things, right, from the solar energy, then hydro power or hydroelectric power. Then we saw wind energy, we saw biogas, biomass, geothermal energy, and also in the end we saw ocean energy or the tidal energy that we say. So everything has got few advantages and disadvantages, but that is a non-conventional source of energy, renewable energy, because a lot of investment is needed, and also things are a bit dependent upon the nature also. So that is why these type of energy are not found at that great scale. Okay, so yeah, that was the thing that actually we saw. So in today's lecture, we are going to see the types of power plants. Okay, so the types of power plants, let's move on to the next slide. So first of all, basically, what is a power plant? You might have seen power plants. Many are there. Means India is a huge nation. Okay, India ranks something I think about seventh in the world in terms of area, and not only means just area is of a concern, means is hugeness, but the population and the population that requires energy is also huge. Okay, so the demand for energy is huge. Demand for electricity is very huge in India. Okay, so this is the reason why actually we need to generate more electricity, and electricity is supplied in that ways. Okay, so I think you know, means you all know that electricity that we get at our homes is 220 volts to 240 volts AC. Okay, alternating current it is in the way, and it has frequency 50 hertz. So this is the electricity at this frequency it is provided to us, and our electronic instruments or electronic gadgets are designed in that way, so that we can, so in that way, so that our devices are compatible. And if you go to any other country like US or any other country, so there you have 120 volts AC alternating current with a frequency of 60 hertz. But it depends on country to country what sort of frequency or what sort of AC voltage you need to apply. So on many devices that you purchase, it is also written that in the way it is compatible with the US energy source or any other, also compatible with 120 volts AC and 60 hertz frequency. And also, if you go in trains, okay, if you go in trains, you will find the chargers, okay, the mobile phone chargers or the laptop chargers. You will find that run on 110 volts AC. Okay, all the fans and the tube lights in trains also run on that 110 volts AC. Okay, and the electricity that is supplied to our homes is basically, okay, the electricity that is supplied to our homes is basically of 240 volts AC and 50 hertz. So just a question that you might have popped up in your minds, that why, means although the electricity supply is by the same this institute or by the same company, Okay, so the same company provides electricity to this uh, both households, residential, I mean, households, industries, or railways. So why is this difference? So the answer lies in the thing that it is very trivial answer. Actually, one should not do that. Initially, railways had done this thing that it had also installed the things of 240 volts and fans and tube lights running on bulbs running on 240 volts AC. But what happened that after that, people means few um, few this obstructive mentality people having this obstructive mentality, they thought that they could actually steal the properties belonging to railways. Okay, so they actually used to take away bulbs, tube lights and fans with them after the completion of their journey. So this was really very worrisome thing for the railways, and that is why they decided to slightly alter the technology so that if they can make a run this tube lights, bulbs and fans on 110 volts DC. So even if you take them to your homes and make them run according to your way, so the things won't work. Okay, that actually the tube light or the fan won't work in at your homes. Why? Because at your homes the alternating current or the frequency is different. Okay, at homes it is 240 volts, in the trains it is 110 volts. So the tube lights and bulbs fans used to get designed in that way that it will support only 110 volts, okay, and not 240 volts, so that if you even if you bring them to your home, this won't be of any use. So this is the difference, great difference that actually I told you regarding this difference of alternating voltage in trains and our households or any other industries and any other institutions. Okay, so basically let us first of all focus what the power plant is. Okay, so first of all, a power plant this is the picture that actually you have got to see here. This is the picture that this is the picture. First of all, the this is the cooling, and this is this is the cooling attenuator, and after that condenser, then steams again attenuator. This is the attenuator, second attenuator. This is the combustion chamber. Okay, this is the natural gas. This is provided for combustion to take place, and after that this attenuator actually rotates. This is connected to gas turbine, it also rotates and it is then given to the transformer, and finally we get electricity generated. Okay, so this way actually we saw in the last lecture also that how hydroelectricity power plants work, and how windmills and all this was basics of power generation we saw in this hydroelectricity. Let me be or let it be in the in case of your power plant in case of your another thing, okay, hydroelectricity or wind or any geothermal or ocean waves. Okay, we saw that. So basically this electricity is means the process by which electricity comes to our homes is, first of all, we need to generate electricity. Okay, electricity generation takes place. After that, the transmission of power takes place. Okay, transmission and then power distribution, and hence we get electricity to our homes, industries, schools, and everywhere. Okay, we get electricity then to our farms. Okay, so basically this is the way it takes place. So first of all, electricity generation, transmission, and then distribution. Okay, so it distributes means you might have seen substations located at different places. Okay, so from a power plant, the electricity gets transmitted, and at substations, after that substation, it gets distributed into to various transformers to our localities, and after that, we get into our homes. Okay, so basically, this is all about the power transmission. Also, recently, the government of India has come up with an idea of a national power grid, so that all the power will get stored in that grid, and according to the demand, the electricity will be supplied to the various parts. Okay, so India being a very huge country with a huge population, and there is a great demand for electricity, and so we need to develop electricity also at a large scale, as we mentioned earlier. So our country, India, basically has uh, three types of power plants. Okay, first one is the thermal power plant that is very common, that is very general to see. We can observe it we can observe it, okay, at many places. Like we have a thermal power plant at various places like in Nagpur it is at Kabarhera, Koradi, and earlier Apollo it is at Paras, and many other power plants you can see thermal power plants in India. And the second type of power plant you will see in India is like of the hydroelectric power plant, okay, that we saw yesterday. Hydroelectric power plant that we saw yesterday in the which working, it's how what are the different things that hydroelectric power needs, and how actually the hydroelectric power works. So we saw these things yesterday, and after that, this comes the third number at third place is the nuclear power plant. Nuclear power plant is established at this Tarapur in near Mumbai. Okay. One more we have this nuclear power plant at this Kalapakam and other places. Okay, so these at these places we have our nuclear power plants. So India actually produces its energy with thermal power plants with the use of coal. And so coal's heat is used to make steam, is what boil the water, and the steam is then used to rotate a turbine. Okay, and it is connected to the generator so that electricity gets produced. This is what actually we do in India. Thermal power plants are available at very large scale. Okay, so this is the thing that actually is a bit concerned because having large number of thermal power plants will definitely release the gases, or it will lead to emissions. It will lead to emissions. Since having large number of these thermal power plants will lead to emissions, and that is not wanted thing. Okay, emissions are not wanted, and this is why we actually get to think that we have to lessen our emissions. But it is not possible to construct a hydroelectric power plant or a nuclear power plant at every places, because not all the terrains are suitable to construct hydroelectric power plants. Okay, and there is by default um, this this agreement, or people are really into the commotion more whenever we talk about, or whenever government places a need for nuclear power plant, because the great thing actually comes about nuclear waste. Okay, so where you will dump the nuclear waste? This is the great question. And nuclear waste is means if it is not treated properly, so it can cause permanent health hazards. And you might have heard about the incident about the Chernobyl incident, or you also know the dropping of nuclear bomb in Japan. So their whole generations actually were physically impaired or something, mentally impaired. Due to the mentally permanent impairedness can hamper your progress. So this is why nuclear power plants face stern opposition from the people. Okay, so basically these are the types of power plants. Means first of all, India has thermal power plants at large scale. Means just you need place, you need coal, supply of coal, and then you can just generate electricity. And while in the case of hydroelectric power plant, as we saw yesterday, we need a huge amount of money. Why? Because we need to build dams, and moreover, the dams are built upon the rivers, which usually are perennial, which do not face any water shortage. So the cost to build the dam is also very huge, and that is why rehabilitation of people and all these things takes place. A thing, and that is why thermal power plants are operated at large scale, not only in India but in all the countries of the world. Okay, so let's move ahead. I think this is pretty clear to you. Okay, so this is the case that thermal power plants we shall have in India. We have in India. This is the reason why we have thermal power plants, because it is a bit easy to develop with low cost and with great supply of coal. I think India ranks third in production of coal after US and China. Okay, so India has lot of coal reserves. You also might have heard about coal fields. Okay, we have Western Coalfield Limited at near the Chandrapur, and BD's offices are there. So these are the cases that we have, and yes, these are the things basically. So to turn on, we need coal. Coal is the great source, and if we have great type of coal, means there are also again three types of coals. Okay, lignite coal, then peat type of coal, and the coal actually that burns more, means the coal actually that burns to its more than 50% is the best coal, so that it leaves less residue behind. Okay, the coal we actually see with local shopkeepers, means the local people who usually iron their clothes. Okay, so the coal that we see there is not that of high quality, it is something of very low quality that actually is burns very less, and it actually leaves a lot of ash behind. Okay, so that coal is not of great use to us. Okay, but the coal that is used in the power plants is of supreme quality. It is something I think of lignite quality type that burns about more than 50%, so that less residue get it's left behind, and moreover, the quality of coal that we have at our at the local places, it is of low quality and it burns only about 30%, 30%, 30 to 32%. Okay, basically this is the difference between the coal that we use in thermal power plants and the coal that is used locally. Okay, so these are the things that actually we need to be careful about. So we need to aware about. Okay, so also you might have seen trains. Okay, also you might have seen goods trains or goods wagons that actually carry coal when you actually travel by trains. So that is where, means the coal mines are located. So the coal from the coal mines are transported is transported directly to the thermal power plants for its electricity generation. Okay, these are the various things that actually we can speak about this coal and its generation, coal and the thermal power generation using coal. Okay, so just moving ahead, what is a look this nuclear? This what is a power plant? So basically, a power plant, also known as a power station or power generating station, is an industrial location that is utilized for generation and distribution of electric power on a mass scale. Okay, so many power stations contain one or more generators, a rotating machine that converts mechanical power into three-phase electric power. These are also known as alternators, and the relative motion between magnetic field and electric conductor creates an electric current. So basically, this is all about Lenz's law and Faraday's law. Okay, so electricity generation is nothing but the generation of electricity. Electricity it gets generated by using Faraday's law and Lenz's law. Hopefully, you all are physics people, people from physics, and you know what is Faraday's law and what is Lenz's law. Okay, these things we learned in a class 12th onwards. Okay, so this is what actually rotates, the turbines rotates and the electricity gets generated, and this these are basically the things that actually we must know. Okay, so many power stations contain one or more generators and a rotating machine that converts mechanical power into three-phase electric power. So there, this term three-phase is a bit important. Again, I say that the three-phase term why is important, because initially it was just a single phase. Means if you see wires, there are three wires in it, three or four or five, three or four wires in it, and if you see four or five wires. Okay, so there, if any transmission line poles, electric poles, if we see, so if we see electric pole, there are basically five wires. Okay, so five wires, among out of those five wires, three are the wires for phases, first phase, second phase, and third phase. Then other is the that ground one, and other finally it is the this phases are positive and this negative, and other is the neutral one. Okay, so these are the various types of this. In single phase, in initially your electricity generated was transmitted in single phase, and after that various gadgets got improved and the gadgets required two phase of electricity, and after that three phases of electricity came into existence. Means it depends what sort of gadgets you have. Means initially the gadgets required less electricity, means like ACs. Okay, initially there was not a great demand for air conditioners, but nowadays air conditioners are in a lot of demand. Maybe at industrial places or residential places or cold storages anywhere. So cooling system is in a great demand, and these cooling systems require three phase of electricity. Okay, basically cooling phases are also for the heating purposes, or to means out from electricity many times you have to generate heat. Okay, so that is why you need a lot of power. gets involved there, and that is why three phase of electricity. This three phase of electricity is required. Okay, so basically, first is the three phases, and first three phases, first three wires are phases, the negative and then the neutral. Okay, you might have really wondered that means such is the high transmission power, means 240 volts EC is transmitted through these wires. If I touch this wire, then what happens? What will happen? Okay, first of all, means touching and plucking all these wires is a different case, but here in this case, you first of all might have seen any bird or this stack of birds sitting on the wires, but still they are not affected. They simply sit on the wire and they fly away. Okay, so nothing has happened to them. So what there is a reason behind this. Means although electricity gets supplied from these wires, but these are and such high alternating current, this electricity at such a high range is transmitted to these transmitted. So this is what actually is a big thing. But you need to learn a fact that birds do sit on the wires. Okay, but they are not connected to the ground. Okay, the circuit does not get completed. Means if the circuit gets completed, then you will receive current or you will receive what we call as a shock. Okay, but since the electricity gets supplied, and even if a bird sits on the wire, so the circuit does not get completed through its body. The bird's body, through the bird's body, the circuit does not get completed. It bird actually flies, sits on the wire, and flies away again. Okay, so circuit does not get completed through his body. That is why its body. That is why the bird does not experience a current or it does not experience um, an electric shock. Okay, so this is the reason. And if a normal person actually, if the wire, if just imagine that if you erect something, if you erect a great stand or if you erect a great ladder from ground to the wire, and if you plug the wire, then electricity will find the low resistance path. That will actually, your body is a great conductor of electricity. It will find a low resistance path. The electricity will travel through your body and it will finally diminish, go to the ground. The circuit gets completed, and the person plugging the electric wires may get a shock. So the completion of the circuit or the completion of the electric direction of the wire current, okay, that is important. Okay, so the potential difference between the electricity carrying wire and the ground is 240 volts AC. Okay, so that high electric potential, if you touch that wire, so the potential difference being very huge, 240 volts, it will surely find the way to the ground, and circuit getting completed, you will experience an electric shock. Okay, so this is the difference why the bird does not get affected and why a human gets affected. Even if you plug the electric wire from above, means if you don't have any connection with the ground, if your feet are not on the ground and if you just are in the air, okay, and if then you plug the electric wire, in that case you might not get a shock because you are again in the place of bird here. You are again acting like a bird where you have not completed the circuit. It's the current actually does not find a way through your body and then to the ground. Okay, you are simply carrier of that current. You are simply the carrier means a current that does not find any low resistance path. It will find its normal path, and it means low resistance path means basically it does not find its way to the ground at the early. Okay, it does not find its way to the ground that early. So that is why the person, okay, that is why you will simply be a normal person who going ahead. So circuit does not get completed, you won't experience electric shock. Okay, this is basically the thing. Actually, I just cleared. I hope you yeah, might have got acquainted means why these things are really there. So three phases, this three phase thing, I hope you might have all got clear why it's a three phase. Okay, so generally the power plants are located in suburban areas or several kilometers away from the cities or the load centers because of its requisites like huge land and water demand, along with several operating constraints like waste disposal, etc. Yeah, we discussed this thing yesterday itself, that these power plants and power stations, actually we discussed in case of dams, but it is also true in case of power plants. Means, yeah, means where a dam where will you construct dam? You will construct a dam where there lies a river, okay, or where there lies a river so that you can actually stop the water, okay, or store the water in dam, and that is a great, that forms a great reservoir. So usually the location for a dam is chosen away from the city, somewhere away from the city, so that you can acquire a lot of land, and a few rehabilitation processes can also take place for the villagers, or few something like agricultural lands can also get occupied in that nearby area, uh, region or nearby region to the river. Okay, so here again these power stations are generated at huge power stations are generated at huge means at a great distance from the city or a great distance from the urban settlements, because of requirement of its land, and also the case of its emission also takes place, so that the emissions from the emissions in the case of solid particles also. Okay, emissions in the case of solid particles, gases, poisonous gases, CO2, so it must not interfere with the air quality of the city. Well, from the case of air quality, I just simply I just simply usually read newspapers. So in that case, yeah, I always see air quality index of the cities of India. Means where there are more industries, the air quality is very poor. Okay, industrialization leads to urban settlements, and that is why the majority of the cities are getting polluted, not only in case of water. So water only not only it gets polluted, but also air pollution is also a greatest threat to uh, survival. Okay, so this is what actually I mean to say. Means that is why these power plants are erected at a great distance from the cities, so that minimization of the pollution and minimization of and pollution in both the forms, means whether let it be water pollution or the air pollution or sound pollution. Okay, as we saw in the case of this rotation of the turbines yesterday. So let it be in any form. So this pollution has to be avoided, and that is why also the land of cost of the land away from the city is that is a bit less as in the city. So due to all these factors, power plant is erected away from the city. Okay, so I was saying, I just mentioned the case of the air quality index. Means the lesser is the pollution, the more good or better is the AQI or air quality index. Okay, so if you go in some rural area, or where the area where there are no industries or industries are less, so you will observe that the air quality index is very good and the air is quite breathable. Okay, air is quite breathable and the air quality is very good. So you can lead a normal life or a happy life, and that cases hill stations are a great example of it. Means you actually do not erect thermal power plants at hill stations. Hill stations usually give you hydroelectric power plants. Means nearby to a hill station there always lies a river, and so at that point if you can construct a dam, and then you can give a you can generate hydroelectricity. So it is the best part. Okay, so I just have to say that in places where there are hill stations, or where there are some high altitude places, or the places where which are away from industrialization, or away from the setup of the power plants. So I feel that these places have good air quality index, and the pollution level of water also is very less at that place. Okay, so recently, means I hope you might have also heard about this smog, SMOG, smog. Smog. What is smog? Smog is this fog, a kind of fog. Okay, that is a kind of fog. So it actually consists of this industry. What happens in case of, I just to make it clear, is what a smog is. Okay, so in places where there is extensive industrialization, in places where there is extensive industrialization, what happens? That the industries emit this a lot of gases. Okay, various industries, not only thermal power plants, but other industries manufacturing various products emit very harmful gases, or very not exactly harmful, but these gases are treated, but still the treatment is not being 100% efficient. Still, small quantity of poisonous gases or particulate matter actually gets into the air atmosphere. Okay, so what happens? Fog. I hope you might all know what is fog is. So that fog actually is the thing that we have that is observed in the winter. Okay, you observe fog in winter. So that fog is the thing that you observe in winter, and but the industrialization or the process in industry runs throughout the year. Okay, so what happens that when this this these gases come in contact with the fog. Okay, so the term has been it has been given a term as smog. Okay, means the fog is not harmful. Okay, fog is not harmful. Fog is something like the atmospheric thing wherein you have air pressure is much higher in that case, so that you can observe fog, and it is quite a good experience that usually in the early mornings in the early mornings in winters in our cities or in winter during winters in the cities in the north like Delhi, Amritsar, and Shimla, they experience fogs. Okay, so there if you see in New Delhi, so what happens that during winter the temperature becomes too low and it actually generates fog in the air. So if this fog actually gets mixed with the pollutants, so or the emissions from the industries, so we term this fog as smog. Okay, smoke plus fog is smog. SMOK is smoke, and FOG fog is smog. They have actually termed it as smog. Okay, smoke plus fog is uh, smog. So the smoke coming out of the industries or the power plants gets mixed with the fog and renders the air quality very less breathable. Okay, so this is why the pollution is a great concern in New Delhi or the national capital region. And also we know that Yamuna River flows through Delhi, and Yamuna is also in very sorry state there. Means water pollution is also very high in New Delhi, and because of extensive and very large scale industrialization along the New Delhi and its surrounding area, means Greater Noida, Gurgaon, and till Ghazipur. So the air quality is very unbreathable. So in winters, means because before the onset of Corona, people actually had to wear masks in Delhi. Let me tell you that when Corona did not exist, means in this pandemic period, in this Corona period, we all are habitual to wear masks. But in New Delhi, the scene was right in 2019, that when smog existed in winters. So people had to wear masks to protect themselves from the harmful smog. Okay, so actually, the air what happens that air was not capable means in Delhi, air was not capable to flow means make the smog flow away. Means what happens that when there is fog, so there is water vapor. Okay, the percentage of water vapor in air increases in fog. Okay, so what happens when industrialization is very large, and if the smoke or particulate matter is emission of smoke or particulate matter from the chimneys of industries is very large. So what happens that in that case, the particles and these particles smoke get actually they get added with the water vapor, and they get stuck in the atmosphere itself. The air being not of that force means the breeze, actually, I just told you yesterday, breeze, wind, and storm. So the breeze being not that strong, strong. Okay, the breeze being not strongly blown. So what happens that it cannot get away. The smoke or the fog becomes heavier. Okay, so normal air is not possible. Normal flow of air is not possible to make the smog take it away. Okay, so to take the smog away, it is not possible for the normal air as the particulate matter and the presence of smoke increases the mass of the fog. That is why normal air is not capable to take that away. So there definitely requires a very heavy wind. It may require a heavy wind so that it can go away. Also, one thing is that the traffic in New Delhi is very huge. Okay, so traffic in New Delhi is very huge. So that what happens that because of the traffic, the emission of the traffic is also one of the things. We must not blame the rapid, very this industrialization and the thermal power plants for the emissions and for the smog result, but it is the emission from the this our vehicles also that also results that also contributes to the smog. Okay, so I hope you might have understood what smog is. Smog is the uh, combination of fog and smoke. Okay, that actually makes the fog to make it heavier. It makes the fog heavy. Okay, it makes the fog heavy, and that is why normal air or the normal flow of air or the breeze or light wind is not capable to while away to make to take away the smog, and that is why it gets the smog gets stuck in the atmosphere of such an area, and people actually cannot we cannot breathe, or people or animals cannot breathe such polluted air. That is why I just mentioned that people uh, before the onset of corona also people in New Delhi and NCR had to wear masks. Okay, so this is the reason this is the reason why extensive industrialization can do. Okay, so this is the reason that actually I just even though just we were discussing that these power plants are located several kilometers away. Why? But still, if power plants are located several kilometers away, due to extensive urbanization, rapid urbanization, the uh, means the people actually have started residing in the areas nearby to the thermal power plants where the power plant is visible. It's naked visible from a great distance also. The people actually are residing in those places and now complaining that they are undergoing some few breathing problems or few chest problems or something other problems. So this has to happen. That initially the government had thought that no one will or the people will not think about settling in these places, but because of increasing urbanization, people are now really settling in places where they find the land is cheap or they can settle in those places. Okay, so these are the things that actually we need to consider. There are many factors also. It is not simply that the government or the emissions are government and the emissions caused by the industrialization are responsible. It is human also. Human also in its human also gets settled into those areas so that it can. He is also responsible for the loss of his health. Okay, and one more thing, what happens? I just told you the case of New Delhi. In New Delhi, I just told that in case of winter, smog gets created and people actually cannot breathe the air. They cannot breathe properly. Okay, or they have to get this unbreathable air. So, in the case of Mumbai, Mumbai is also one of the Mumbai, Hyderabad, Bangalore. These are also places where industrialization has taken place in a rapid scale. Let us speak about Mumbai first. In case of Mumbai, what has happened that Mumbai is such a great city that it almost has a population of 1.2 crores. Means people in Mumbai actually just live. Means 1.2 crore people live there. Means just think the jobs it gives. Okay, so just think the industrialization it has, the power generation capacity it has. I just told you the example of Tarapur that is near Mumbai, nuclear power plant. We shall come back there. So what happens due to proximity of sea to Mumbai, the air blows. It is continuous flow of air is there. Okay, means even though the traffic in Mumbai is huge, so the emissions from traffic is not a great concern for us. So air keeps on blowing and it takes away the harmful pollutants and harmful things with it into the sea. Okay, so that is why the air quality index of Mumbai, at least at night when the traffic is low, it is good. The air is breathable there, but not during the day. And as in the case of industrialization, so industry has been set up there also, but it is not that dangerous. Okay, it is not that dangerous. And because the air still keeps on taking away the harmful things, and again fresh air can be made available for breathing to the people of Mumbai. But yes, water pollution is also a cause of concern there. In Mumbai, water pollution is there, very huge pollution is there, but at least people can find some respite in case of air pollution there. Okay, so let us now go through this. That for this reason, the power station generating station has not only concerned itself with the efficient generation of power, but also
the transmission of power. Okay, this is why the power plants are often closely accompanied by transformer switch yards. Okay, the transformer switch yards, we know that, we saw that, I just told you that the few erections into the farms we have seen, that where they carry the electricity, and transformer switch yards means for transmission of power. That is why we use this transformer switchyard. This switchyard increase the transmission voltage of power, which allows it to be more efficiently transmitted over long distances. Okay, so a power plant actually distributes its electricity to all the places. And if you are a student of physics, so you might know that this power plants generate electricity, and it is stepped up with help of step up transformer. It is then sent to various places, and again at when at the receiving end, we actually comply step down transformer, and that step down transformer again takes it the value of the transformer to low value, and again it is made available for our normal usage. Okay, so thermal power, this means again any the power plant be of any sort, thermal power plant, hydroelectric power plant, or any other nuclear power plant. The process will be same. Before transmission, the power will be stepped up by means of step up transformer, and after the transmission has got completed, means various the transmission is not certainly lossless. Many sort of losses actually come to fore, and the transmission is, yes, it is lossless. Uh, will not get 100% generated output at the power plants to our homes. It is a lossful transmission. Few copper losses, hysteresis losses occur. Means we can speak at length about this copper and hysteresis losses in our physics classes and all these things. But till now, please remember that in transmission of power, these type of losses do occur. Okay, so we have to actually go through these cases also. Okay. Yeah, so we were speaking about a lossless transmission there. So lossless transmission basically is something that we need to take very great due, but in our homes, if the fully generated output of the power plants is not available. So power plants, and although they generate electricity, it is stepped up, while a transmission using a stepped up transformer, but still because of many types of hysteresis, copper, and losses, transmission becomes lossful transmission, and we get less output at our homes and at the substations and the transformers. Transformers basically that we see at various places, the iron things made up of iron, those are transformers. So at those places, those are step down transformers, and the electricity is stepped down and then finally supplied to our homes. Okay, so this was all about means more efficient transmission over long distances for uh, these things. Okay, for the transmission of electricity, and the energy source harnessed to turn the generator shaft varies widely and is chiefly dependent on the type of the fuel used. The fuel choice dictates what we call the power plant, and this is how the various types of power plants are classified. The fuel choice dictates what we call the power plant, and this is how the various types of power plants are classified. This means that in case of our thermal power plant, the fuel that we use is the coal. In case of our hydroelectric power plant, the fuel that we use, it is not exactly the fuel, but it is the water that we use. And in case of nuclear power plants, the fuel that we use is the nuclear energy, or the uranium, enriched uranium source, uranium 23592. Uranium is an element that has atomic mass 235, and its atomic number is 92. Okay, so this is the uranium 23592. This is used to generate electricity. But the uranium being a radioactive element, it emits alpha, beta, gamma radiations. So these radiations are very harmful to our health. Means prolonged exposure to these radiations can render our health very in a very bad condition. Okay, so this is unwanted, and that is why one must actually, and its disposal, and disposal of the nuclear waste is also a great issue. And as I told you that the Chernobyl incident and the aftermath of the dropping of atomic bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki actually let us in a very sorry state that actually people, because of the means, uh, this uncared dropping of the bomb, means of course you do not care, you need to make lives loss. Okay, so this is what actually, because of uncared all these things, people still suffer. And one must actually, I'll not say that one must completely refrain from the use of this nuclear power, but it's used in a good manner can and it's an appropriate care regarding the waste disposal can certainly save our future. Okay, so this is basically what actually I feel about this new nuclear power plant. Okay, so moving on to the next slide. So basically we have the case of thermal power plant. Okay, so here we have seen the different types of power plants classified depending on type of fuel used. For the purpose of bulk power generation, thermal, nuclear, and hydropower are most efficient. A power generation station can be broadly classified into above these three types. So first one is the thermal power plant. Okay, so as I mentioned that thermal power plant, we have coal-fired thermal power so far. Okay, that is the most conventional method to generate electric power and is with a reasonably high efficiency. Okay, so it uses coal as a primary fuel to boil the water available to superheat steam, driving for the steam turbine. Okay, so where from you need some heat generated to run the steam turbine. So the heat is generated by burning coal, and by burning coal, it is with this burning coal, heat of the burning coal is used to heat the water, and the heated water gives out steam. Okay, after the heated water gives out steam, it actually is the steam is used to rotate the steam turbine, and in this way you can get the electric generated. So the steam turbine is then mechanically coupled to the alternator rotor, the rotation of which generates generation of electric power. Okay, generally in India, this bituminous coal or brown coal are used as fuel of boiler, which has volatile content from 8 to 33% and ash from 5 to 16%. Okay, so I just told you lignite coal and peat coal were the some examples of coal that are used, and in India we use bituminous coal or brown coal. Okay, but I feel that lignite coal is the most efficient coal, but I feel that India might not be producing, or we might not find this lignite coal at with large scale in India. So we need to actually use the coal that is found. That the most it is found is bituminous or brown coal. Okay, bituminous, that is what actually we use in our India. But if we use the lignite coal, efficiency can still be greater. But if it is not found in India, then the coal that we have to use that. Okay, so to enhance the thermal efficiency of the plant, coal is used in the boiler in its pulverized form. Okay, the coal is used in boiler in its pulverized form. Here, pulverized actually, so here polarized means in its fine form, means in its very fine form. Means a crusher they use in at power plants. Means coal is available in form of some stone. Okay, in a very hard form it's available. So that hard form of coal is then crushed by means of a crusher, and its pulverized form means it's very fine form in the form of powder. It is used. Okay, it is used to burn. Okay, so that we left with less for some form of ashes. This might be the thing that they may say. So the coal that we use to heat is in the form of it's very powdered form. Okay, so in India we use bituminous coal. Okay, but if peat and lignite coal might have greater efficiency, but in India it is not available. But still, the generation of power is very efficient by means of using this bituminous coal, and we use that coal in its very fine or powdered form. Okay, so this is basically, and moving on to the next slide, the coal-fired thermal power plant steam is obtained in very high pressure inside a steam boiler by burning the pulverized coal. Okay, the steam is then superheated in superheater to extreme high temperature. This superheated steam is then allowed to enter into the turbine as the turbine blades are rotated by the pressure of the steam. Okay, the turbine means first of all the coal thermal power plant, the steam is obtained in very high pressure inside a steam boiler by burning the pulverized coal. Coal is burnt, and then it is used to boil the water, and after boiling the water the steam is produced. Okay, so the steam is then superheated in the superheater to extreme high temperature. Then the superheated steam actually is made to enter the turbine, and the blades of the turbine are rotated by pressure of the steam. Okay, so the turbine is mechanically coupled with alternator. Alternator is a device that actually is used to produce electricity, means generate alternating current. Okay, so in a way that its rotor will rotate with the rotation of turbine blades, means these frequencies are coupled, means rotator frequency and this alternator frequency, blades of turbine frequency are coupled, they are made same. When then after entering into the turbine, the steam pressure suddenly falls, leading to corresponding increase in the steam volume. Okay, so having imparted energy to turbine rotors, the steam is made to pass out of the turbine blades into the steam condenser of the turbine. In the condenser, the cold water at ambient temperature is circulated with the help of pump, which leads to condensation at low pressure wet steam. Okay, so now if we give energy to the turbine rotors, the steam is made to pass out of the turbine blades into the steam condenser of the turbine, and after that cold water at a particular temperature is circulated through the pipes and pumps, so that the steam actually gets condensed, means the vapor form of steam actually it is made cooler into water form, and then by the pressure of this weight steam, it actually the steam is not completely a vapor, means it was initially superheated, now it is no longer superheated but it is in its weight form. Okay, then the condensed water is supplied to a low pressure water heater, where the low pressure steam increases the temperature of the feed water. It is again heated at high pressure. Okay. Basically, this is what is the working of thermal power plant. Means it is said that the condensed water is supplied further to the water heater. Again, means the water is used here again. Means first of all, the steam is superheated. It is just made to rotate the turbine. Okay, and the frequency of this turbine is made equal to the frequency of the rotor. Okay, or that is connected to the alternator. This is done. After that, once the superheated steam actually goes into this process, goes into the process of rotating the turbine. So after that, this superheated steam is again condensed. Okay, by means of pumps and that are at lower pressure that actually create some low pressure. So by means of this, the superheated steam is again condensed into water droplets, and again that water is made to superheat, and again the process continues. Okay, so basically this is the process that works that actually undergoes in a thermal power plant. Okay, so again the water does not get waste, means the steam does not get utilized at first, it actually is used again and again, means it can be used. Okay, so the not much excessive wastage of water, or it is being recycled anyways. Okay, so let us see the advantages of thermal power plants. First of all, the fuel used, that is the coal, is quite cheaper. As I mentioned earlier, that the coal is very abundant in our country. Our country, India, ranks third in the world after China and US in the supplies of coal. So if its coal is available at pretty large scale, so definitely we can use it. Okay, so it is definitely cheap. Means if anything is available at large scale, it is cheap. Okay, so initial cost is lesser as compared to the other generating stations. Means initial cost means in case of just when we discuss the case of hydroelectric or this nuclear power plant. So the initial cost is bit less. Means if one has to construct a thermal power plant, government simply requires a piece of land, okay, a huge piece of land rather, okay, a piece of land far away from the city. A piece of land far away from the city will cost at a very, it will be a bit cheaper, and you don't have to construct dam. Dam construction actually requires a lot of cost. You simply need a basic machinery, and you need to build chimneys, okay, to make way for the exhaust gases or exhaust air. Okay, that is it. Okay, only this much setup you need. So basically this is all about the generation of, this is basically you need, so with quite cost is quite less as compared to the other generating things. The dam require very large amount of land also. Then construction is very huge, and nuclear power plants also generate, means it requires a large land, and the uranium that has to be imported. Okay, our country India does not have enriched source of uranium. Uranium is available, but it is not available in its purest form. So we need to import uranium from other countries. So import actually takes a lot of cost. Okay, so as compared means this form is generally cheaper. That is why thermal power plants are available at in a very large scale. Okay, so and the third advantage of thermal power plant is that it requires less space as compared to hydroelectric power stations. Yeah, that as I mentioned earlier, that hydroelectric power plant requires a huge space because why? Because dams need to be constructed. Okay, dam requires a very large space, and again, as it will be a water reservoir, it will take huge area. Okay, so this is one of the other advantage. Now let us have a look at the disadvantages of thermal power plants. The disadvantage of thermal power plants is in the case that running cost of a power plant is it pollutes atmosphere due to the production of smoke and fumes that actually we just discussed earlier, that smog and all these things pollutants, the way actually the smoke comes out of the chimneys is one of the great reasons for the air pollution. And fumes also, fumes are toxic gases. Okay, toxic things, fumes actually are the toxic things that actually can come out. Not actually toxic, fumes are not always toxic, but gases that come, various gases that come out can be called as fumes. So this comes out the chimneys. We discussed about this, and the running cost of the power plant is more than two hydroelectric power plants. Okay, means in the first case what we saw the advantages, in advantages we saw that the initial cost is less compared to the other generating stations. Initial cost is less means first of all, if you have to simply erect a thermal power plant, erection of thermal power plant is easy than the erection of your hydroelectric power plant. But if you have to run it, if you have to run thermal power plant, actually the cost is twice as compared to the hydroelectric power plant. So the cost being twice. Why? Because you need continuous supply of coal. Okay, you need continuous supply of coal, so that continuously coal gets supplied. And coal, how it will get supplied? It will be supplied through the coal fields. Means the government has to actually either take coal from the coal mines. Means government own coal mines, it will have to take the coal from, and it will have to transport the coal through trains. Okay, or the freight trains. So that is why transportation and its cost actually gets it actually escalates. The cost escalates. So this is the means another disadvantage, that it costs twice. But again, what it means in speaking in general terms, though it costs you more than the hydroelectric power plant, but as I mentioned that we have a large presence of coal in our India. India produces a lot of coal, so production of coal is not that matter, and procuring it is very cheap. Okay, procuring coal is very cheap, so that we actually do not have much. Means the cost is not that very that large. Okay, in other countries the case may be different. Okay, but in other countries, the case may be that the coal actually might not be available, or the quality of coal it may be very less quality or low quality coal may be available there. One more thing can happen is that the other countries, thermal power producing countries, might actually import coal. Okay, there are a few countries in this Middle East and Africa where there is very scarcity of water, means you will hardly find a river in those countries of Africa or Middle East. So they don't have water, so that means they don't have rivers, so cannot produce hydroelectric power plants. Moreover, production of nuclear energy can face some this serious opposition from the these people. Okay, so nuclear power plant may also be not a great use for them. Okay, or they might not be in a position to import uranium or other enriched nuclear material, so they might find importing coal as a cheap option. This can also be the thing. Okay, so but yes, setting up a nuclear power plant is easy, but already running them means government running them is like running two uh, hydroelectric power plants. Okay, but what happens again? The government has to do nothing. It has to simply produce and distribute electricity among the people and incur expenses from the people itself. Okay, although it has been said here that running cost of thermal power plant is twice like that of the hydroelectric power plant, but still the government is responsible to produce. Okay, and it knows, it has the ways to take its investment back from the consumers. Okay, like industrial rates are different than residential, and these educational institutions are provided electricity at subsidized rates. Educational institutions and other governmental institutions are actually billed for this electricity at a very subsidized cost. Okay, industries are actually uh, built very at very large rates. Okay, per unit cost is very high for the industries. Okay, so this is the way means it's nothing but the people have to pay back to the government for their services they take. So cost is I feel it is not a great factor. Cost is not a great factor because government will anyhow recover it. Okay. So moving on to the next slide, this is about the nuclear power station. As you can see here, this is a picture of nuclear power station. This is a chimney. Then this is the power plant. These are two chimneys. These chimneys are emitting smoke. Okay. So nuclear power plants are similar to the thermal stations in more ways than one. However, the exception is that radioactive elements like uranium and thorium are used as primary fuel in place of coal. Okay, again these are similar means just the fuel varies. So here the fuel we use is uh, uranium or thorium. Okay, also in nuclear station the furnace and the boiler are replaced by nuclear reactor and exchange heat exchanger tubes. Okay, so furnace and the boiler means we need water to boil in thermal power plants, but in this case of nuclear power stations the furnace and boiler are replaced by nuclear reactor and heat exchanger tubes. Okay, nuclear reactor is what nuclear reaction actually takes place there. Means nuclear fission reaction. Nuclear fission. Nuclear fission means I hope you might know what nuclear fission is. This nuclear fission thing you might have learnt in your I think in your standard 10th itself, standard 10th or standard 12th. But still, I'll make you aware about this nuclear fission reaction. What nuclear fission reaction exactly is. So nuclear fission reaction basically is like this heavy element. This is a heavy element, right? Uranium is a heavy element. So a heavy element that is like uranium that has atomic mass 235 and its atomic number is 92. So let's keep aside this atomic number and focus on it in its mass. Means its mass is 235, so it is a bit heavier, very heavier rather. So in nuclear power plants, nuclear fission is actually made use of. So nuclear fission we make use of in nuclear power plants. So this nuclear fission reaction is something like a heavy element like uranium is bombarded with a single neutron. Okay, this single neutron then goes into this heavy element, this nucleus of this heavy element. A single external neutron goes, and this external neutron then actually uh, divides, or actually it creates a rift in its original uranium nucleus, and this original nucleus is then divided into its daughter elements. Okay, so this is basically the nuclear fission reaction. Okay, so nuclear fission reaction basically this is the nuclear fission reaction. All right, so basically, so first this is the case of nuclear fission reaction, and this is the case used in nuclear power plants. Means here we have heavy atomic nucleus. Okay, so heavy atomic nucleus of uranium that has mass 235, and a single neutron is bombarded at this uranium 235 nucleus, and it splits into daughter elements. Means it gives out two new elements. Okay, means uranium 235 plus one neutron gives you two different elements. Okay, so these two different elements are uh, krypton, the krypton and this barium. Okay, so krypton has atomic mass of 92 and barium has atomic mass of this 141, along with three more neutrons. These three more neutrons are then used to fission three more uranium 235 nucleus, and the reaction goes on, and that is why we call this reaction as a chain reaction. Okay, so I hope you might have got this. Means first, I'll just tell you once again in very short that first of all we have a uranium 235 nucleus. It is bombarded with a single neutron. Then this single neutron bombardment of the single neutron over this uranium-235 nucleus gives you two daughter elements, that is barium and krypton. These two elements we get. Barium has mass number 141 and krypton has mass number 92. Okay, along with these two daughter elements, we get three neutrons. Okay, so three neutrons we get. These three neutrons are again used to bombard another three uranium nuclei, and hence we keep on getting daughter elements and three neutrons, daughter elements and three neutrons. So this process continues, and then neutrons produced as a result of this reaction are used to bombard three more uranium nuclei. Okay, so this process continues, and this is called as the chain reaction. So basically, this is a nuclear reactor, and in nuclear reactor, the chain reaction takes place, and the boiler is replaced with heat exchanger tubes. Okay, what are heat exchanger tubes means? Heat simply gets exchanged from one tube to another, where the heat energy, okay, is transferred from one tube to another, and in the way the transfer of energy, heat energy takes place. So this is all about your nuclear. Means this is all about the nuclear chain reaction. Basically, I told you. So you all are aware. I just made you means revise this concept of the chain reaction. Okay. So for the process of nuclear power generation, radioactive fuel cells are made to undergo fission reactions. As I mentioned earlier, the fission reaction takes place within the nuclear reactors. Means nuclear reactor fission takes place. The fission reaction propagates a controlled chain reaction and is accompanied by unprecedented amount of energy produced, which is manifested in form of heat. Okay. So thus we discussed what chain reaction is. Okay, we discussed what chain reaction is. So this is basically the process that takes place in the nuclear reactor, and very large form of energy is produced, which is used in the in form of heat. Okay, what heat? Heat is used to produce the it is produced to boil the water, steam, and again steam is made to rotate the turbine, and it is made compatible. Those frequencies are made compatible. Generator, this alternator, and the frequency of the turbine, and electricity gets produced in this way. Okay, as in the case of the thermal power plant, it was a bit different case. Okay, so then this heat generated is transferred to the water present in the heat exchanger tubes. Okay, so as a result, the superheated steam at very high temperature is produced, and once the process of steam formation is accomplished, the remaining process is exactly similar to thermal power plant, as this steam will further drive the turbine blades to generate electricity. Okay, that we discussed earlier. That this process being of steam formation, the remaining process is exactly similar. Means again, the steam generated will actually be used to produce steam, and the steam will then rotate the turbine. It will be connected to a generator, and electricity will get produced. And after producing electricity, it will get distributed. Okay, so the same process, but the fuel is different here as compared to thermal power plant. Here the fuel is uranium 235. Okay, the radioactive source of energy. And one more thing, let me clear that a very means you may require some tons of coal to produce heat. Okay, you may require tons of coal to produce heat, but here in the case of nuclear power, you require very less amount of this nuclear generation thing. Okay, means very less amount of this radioactive material. Means if you require tons of coal, you may require simply about not even 30 to 50 kgs is will be sufficient to for that comparison. But this amount means this amount with this 30 to 50 kg of amount, we if we term say about 50 kgs, this uh, quantity is very means huge as we speak in case of radioactive element. And its cost of procurement, quantity its quantity, its cost of procurement of the enriched quantity is very high. Okay, it is very high, but still it can be termed as a clean source of means partially clean, you can say it, because it leaves behind no ashes. Although it is not a clean source of energy, means it emits gases into the atmosphere, but still it can be termed as a clean, it can be termed as bit economical thing. But again, great issue regarding this nuclear waste comes to fore. Okay, so nuclear waste, the generation of the nuclear waste is a thing that actually has to
Yes, the cost of procurement is very large for this 50 to means 30 to 50 kilograms of this uranium 23592. Okay, so this is what actually we discussed about this thing, and means it is just a change of fuel here as compared to this your other thermal power plant. In thermal power plant we use coal, but in nuclear power plant we are simply using uranium as its source. Okay, so this is what actually same thing means. Again, the water process is simply the thing here. It takes place. Again, only the problem here is the disposal of the nuclear waste. Means proper treatment of the nuclear waste and its disposal is only the main concern that we have to strictly speak about. Okay, so properly, if it is treated, if the nuclear waste is treated properly, then and if it is ensured that minimum hazard to the environment it will take place and it will disposed of very at a safe location, then nuclear power can be of very great use to us. Okay, nuclear power can be of very great use to us. So moving on to the next slide, yeah, we actually learned about this hydroelectric power station once again. So basically in hydraulic power plant, as we discussed earlier in yesterday's lecture, so in hydroelectric power plants, the energy of falling water is utilized to drive the turbine, which in turn runs the generator to produce electricity. Okay, so rain falling upon the Earth's surface has potential energy relative to oceans towards which it flows. Okay, the energy is converted to shaft work where the water falls through an appreciable vertical distance. The hydroelectric power is therefore a naturally available renewable energy given by the equation P is equal to G into rho into H. Okay, we discussed yesterday that this water stored at very high height has potential energy. Okay, so it has also been compared here with the rain that we receive from the clouds. The rains comes down because the potential means it also carries a large potential energy. Okay, so this energy, okay, the energy of the falling water is converted to shaft work where the water falls through an appreciable vertical distance. Vertical distance is nothing but the height. Okay, so the hydroelectric power is therefore a naturally available renewable energy given by. This is the equation that we get. This is the energy, potential energy. This is G rho H, where P is the potential energy, G is the acceleration due to gravity. We know all that it is 9.81 meters per second square, and then we have rho as the density of water, which is 1000 kg per meter cube, and H is the height of the fall of the water. Okay, all these are in SI units, meters per second square, kg per meter cube. So all these are the SI units, and by using all these quantities, means we can get the potential energy of the water. Okay, so this is basically the height h of the water. H is only the constraint that we use. So greater is the height, greater is the potential energy that we get. Okay, so greater is the height, greater is the potential energy that we get. So P is directly proportional to h here. Means let the height be something about 1 kilometer. So means 1000 meters. So 1000 to 1000, that will be 10 to the power 6. Okay, 10 to the power 6 into 9. So 9.81 into 10 to the power 6. Okay, 9.81 into 10 to the power 6 joules of potential energy will be of the water. Okay, if you store water at 1 kilometer, if you build a dam 1 kilometer long, okay, 1 kilometer long means 1 kilometer long in vertically. Okay, so 1 kilometer in height. 1 kilometer in height is also a great thing. It's 1000 meters. So if you build a dam of 1000 meters long, means 1000 meters in height. So in that case, your potential energy will be 10 to the power 6 into 9.81 joules. That's also been 9.81 million joules. Okay, 9.81 million joules the energy of water will be. Means just imagine the energy, means the water falling with this energy back to the earth. So how fast it will come down and how fast the rotation of the turbine will take place. Okay, so this is the great thing actually that we have to consider. Okay, so this power is utilized for rotating the alternator shaft to convert it into equivalent electrical energy. An important point to be noted is that the hydroelectric power plants are of much lower capacity as compared to the thermal or nuclear power completed power plant. Okay, so hydroelectric power plant, although we see that there are no emissions, there are no actually health hazards, but still it has much lower capacity as compared to the thermal and nuclear power plant. Means the thermal power plant, it may actually give you a lot of energy. Nuclear power plant may generate a lot of energy in megawatts, something like that, but still this hydroelectric power plant are not that capable. They are not that capable, means they are not capable enough to generate electricity that that means of that quantity, as you compare the cases of thermal and nuclear power plants. So these are the things that actually make, this is the thing actually that makes hydroelectric power plants bit on a lower side. Means just imagine that this might be one of the cases where thermal power plants are really preferred. Means in a country like India, where we have coal at a very large quantities available, and that too at a bit quite cheap rate. So, and cost of the cost to build a thermal electric power plant is not also that high. So why to then generate electricity with hydroelectric power plant always? Means you need to have a presence of a river for the hydroelectric power plant to take place. Okay, when in a river actually is not available to all of us at a very now and then. It is not common in India, right? So coal being available at very large quantities, so it also being cheap, okay, relatively cheap. So erecting a thermal power station and generating electricity and sufficing the needs of electricity of the people, that is a bit easier to do, what I feel. That is, this is what the government feels rather. And although whatever cost is incurred for the generation of electricity, right from the procurement of coal, all the generation cost, all the distribution cost, the government actually takes it from the people, okay, or the consumers who consume it, okay, at the different rates, not only at subsidized rates, but also at different rates, at very high rates for the industries. So basically, it is the government who actually is at the helm of all these things. Means it does not incur any sort of losses, but few losses are definitely happening uh, if the exhaust gases are not treated properly, if the waste is dumped into water untreated form. So if care is taken, then thermal power plants actually can be of great use, because hydroelectric power plants, as we saw now, they are not that capable to generate electricity as thermal and nuclear power plants do. Okay, so this is one of the things that we have to really take care about, and this is the thing. Means of course you cannot build a hydroelectric power plant. Means a dam. Actually, you need to construct a dam for hydroelectric power plant, right? So for hydroelectric power plant, construction of dam also costs you very large. Okay, and moreover, you have to find such places where there is abundance of water, and such places where the land can be procured in a very easy way. Okay, so these are the two things that you have to keep into mind. So hydroelectric power plant, although it appears to be bit usable, okay, it bit usable form, but still I feel that, means it is felt that hydraulic power plant has its own limitations as far as terrain is concerned, means how the land is and how its features are. So that is a great drawback in that case, no doubt. It is not it does not produce any emissions, it does not result in any sort of emissions, but still it is the good thing that construction of dams. This construction of dams can give you two things that we discussed yesterday. Okay, what it can give, first thing, it can give you electricity, generation of electricity, and the second thing that the construction of dam can give you is the storage of water. You can store water of a river or rains in any form, in the form, and you can distribute that water to your areas nearby, means urban settlements or rural settlements or industries or agricultural areas. Okay, so you can supply water to those fields. Means the construction of dams is also good. These are the things that actually hydroelectric power plant has. Okay, so yeah, so these are the things we learned. And moving on to the next slides, let's have a look at the advantages and disadvantages of this hydroelectric power station. So first of all, a hydroelectric power station requires no fuel. water is used for generation and electricity. Okay, then we all know this. Then it is a neat and clean energy generation, means it does not actually, after the generation, no exhaust fumes or no water waste is generated. So it is really a clean and neat energy generation source. Then the construction is simple, less maintenance is required, and helps in irrigation and full flood control also. Means I just told you that irrigation is also useful here, and in flood controls you can, in case of water will not simply flow through the river in all the areas. If you close the gates of the dams of, so water can still get stored. And in case of excessive and very excessive downpour, okay, in case of deluge only, then you can open the one or two doors of the dams. Okay, so this can help in flood control as well. Okay, construction is simple. Although construction is simple, but let us remember that it is not cost effective. Okay, it is very expensive. Construction, although it requires, means it appears simple, means with the advent of civil engineering and with the civil engineering technology, the construction nowadays has become simpler. But in the previous days, the construction of these dams was an uphill task, and it had to be complete. It was means it was not that easy. Okay, and less maintenance is required. Means once you build a dam, you simply do, require no maintenance. Okay, dam is built, it is over, and it will then last for generations. Very less maintenance is required. Okay, and then let us have a look at the disadvantages of hydroelectric power station. It involves high capital cost due to the dam construction. Yeah, as we said earlier, that although less maintenance may be required here, but it involves high capital cost due to dam construction. It's very uh, expensively it is built. Very large amount of money gets invested in such purposes. Okay, such projects. So availability of water depends upon weather conditions. Means if you decide to build a dam upon a particular river, so first of all you have to study the climate there. Means if the rains are really good in that region, so if it rains in a proper way, so really, is it really proper, so that the availability of water will be ensured throughout the year, so that we don't face any water shortage. If water shortage is faced, then no generation of electricity can be done. Okay, so this is one of the disadvantages of this hydroelectric power plant. Okay, so it depends upon weather conditions. Means if the region is quite good in receiving rains, okay, so and if the water level can be maintained at a particular level throughout the year, apart from supply of water to the various things like cities, villages, farms and fields and industries. So apart from this, if the water remains there throughout the year, only in that cases it is proper to actually generate hydroelectricity with use of this hydroelectric power plant. Otherwise, simply building a dam and means without any generation of electricity when water is not available, it is simply a waste of public money. Okay, so it will prove as simply waste of public money. So government actually takes very due care in constructing these hydroelectric power plants. It simply does not construct hydroelectric power plant in anywhere it actually finds a river. Okay, because quantity of water throughout the year cannot be ensured, especially in summer. Okay, especially in summer when there is a great requirement of electricity, and only that during that period, if you are unable to generate electricity, then it's of no use. Okay, so let's one more thing, that it requires high transmission cost as plant is located in hill areas. Means these hydroelectric power plants, as we said, that these plants are actually located in hilly areas from where you can make the water fall into the turbine. It's already you can have height attained. Okay, you have already you can make height attained, and so you can make the water fall from great height there. So in hilly areas, the transmission cost is more. Why? Because the although in hilly areas this generation can take place, but transmission is very costly because the terrain is not that plain. Okay, it is not a plain terrain, that is up, down, and very hilly areas. So more amount of transformers, more amount of your this erections for transmission of electricity have to be procured.
And apart from this, that is why the transmission cost is very large. The transmission cost is very large, but it is just a one-time investment. And the moreover thing is that although the transmission cost is large, but it will still satisfy the needs of the electricity of the hilly areas. Okay, so but that is why if you have a river or if you have a great water resource in the hilly area, you can simply build a hydroelectric power plant, and although it will be of a few megawatts, it will still suffice the needs of the local needs. May it be let it be agriculture, or let it be the residential, or let it be something around this industrial use. Okay, so that can be of a great use, hydraulic power plant in hilly areas. And we cannot actually imagine to construct in other this other thermal or nuclear power plants in this hilly areas. Why? Because it will disturb the flora and fauna and beauty of that hilly area, and it will get polluted. Okay, and moreover, when we have got a natural height at the hilly areas, then why to, and if we have also a water source there, and hilly areas usually receive good rains, so then why to construct other nuclear power plants? Hydroelectricity will definitely prove better. Okay, for the hilly areas. Also, hilly areas do not have great settlements, so the power generation, although it will be less, but it will be the need will also be less. Okay, so hydroelectricity is best for hilly areas, but if you say that if you have to transmit area from hilly areas, transmit electricity from hilly areas to other areas, the cost will escalate then. Okay, the cost will increase. But yeah, this is the lookout of the government, because although the cost of transmission has escalated, it will charge the consumers. Consumers are at the receiving end always, so consumers will have to pay for it. Increased cost of transmission, all things. Okay, so let it be. These are not the things that we have to discuss. We simply have discussed the advantages and disadvantages of hydroelectric power station. So today in this lecture, we saw thermal energy, we saw nuclear energy, we saw this hydroelectric power station. I hope that your concepts of this types of power stations and yesterday's lecture, Introduction to Renewable Energy Sources, is pretty clear. And if you have any doubts, we can definitely have a discussion in the comments. So please like the video and subscribe it, and hopefully you have cleared all these things. And my part was, it's a bit informative, I feel. So moving on to the next slide, these are the other types to generate power. So first is the solar power generation, that we make use of available solar energy. Geothermal power generation we saw, then tidal power generation we saw, wind power generation we saw. Okay, so these alternative source of generation has given due importance in last few decades owing to a depleting amount of natural fuels available to us. The only way forward would then lie in the mercy of these alternative sources of energy, which might play an instrumental role in shaping the energy supplies for the future. For this reason, this might rightfully be referred to as the energy of the future. Okay, because coal is depleting at a very fast rate. Oil, natural gas, these petroleum products are depleting by its very fast usage. So that is why there's all types of solar, geothermal, tidal, wind, biomass, and biogas. These renewable energy sources can be termed as the energy for future. Also, we can use these types of renewable energy sources for our small time energy generation, so that we do not put extensive or more very extravagant pressure on the this conventional natural resources. So at small scale, even if we are capable to do these things, so it will be of great use for us to use these natural resources. And we can natural power resources, and these are non-depleting ones, so that they will last forever, and we will have a healthy power generation without affecting the environment adversely, and not causing very great damage, not causing any damage. Rather, we must be careful to not to damage our environment. Okay, and release any health hazards into the atmosphere. So these renewable sources definitely play a great role in all these cases. So yeah, we are at the end of our lecture. So today's lecture, we are at the end of our this session also, my session. So hopefully you actually liked and got acquainted about this, what exactly these renewable energy sources are, and the types of power plants today we discussed. So at large, we discussed this renewable energy sources. We introduced these things. We discussed types of power plants. We discussed all these things in this 2 day session. Okay, so I feel that you might have really got well versed with this renewable energy sources and types of power plants. So my request to you to is to like this video, and if you have any doubts, we can discuss these things in comments. So that's it, and thanks a lot for participating into these sessions, and hopefully you also make some practical use of any renewable energy sources into your lives, and try to protect the environment and contribute towards the protection of the nature. Okay, so on this note, I am Pratik Gaiki, Assistant Professor, Department of Physics, Shri Shivaji Arts, Commerce and Science College, Motala, wishes to sign off, and that is it for today. And hopefully, with another course we may meet in the near future, or any uh, this competition, or any great informative course which can be helpful for me and you also, and we can have a great discussion and collaboration in the future. So that's it. I thank you a lot for getting engaged and watching this, so that you also are getting a bit information from this thing, and that is it for today. So on this note, I would like to stop here, and I would like to just attend the sessions for the coming days also. So I finally, Pratik Gaiki, wishes to sign off, and thank you for attending these 2 sessions. Thanks a lot.